let's talk about parts of a sentence. First thing we're going to talk about is the verb. The verb is usually the easiest word in the sentence to identify. It's the action word in the sentence. It tells us what's really happening in the sentence. Second thing is subject. Subject tells us who or what is performing that action. So let's take a look at a couple of examples, and hopefully as we do these examples, it will become a little bit clearer to you how to best identify verb and subject in a sentence. So, first example, Dave plays the drums. Okay, so we ask ourselves, where is the action word in this sentence? Where's the action? So here, it's plays. So we can go ahead and label that as our verb. We can label plays as the verb in that sentence. After you label your verb in the sentence, you ask yourself, who or what is performing that action? So the action, or verb, in this sentence is plays. So what we do is we ask ourselves, who or what plays? And in this sentence, the answer to that question is Dave. Dave plays the drums. So we're going to go ahead and label Dave as the subject in that sentence. In our second example, she studied for the test. We're going to label studied as our verb because that's the action word in that sentence. And after labeling studied, we ask ourselves the question, who or what studied? And the answer to that question in this sentence is she. She studied for the test. So we can label she as the subject. So hopefully that cleared things up a little bit for you. There are some exercises on the website that you can take a look at to get some practice in. And I'm sure your teachers are more than happy to give you extra work to practice. And next we're actually going to talk about direct and indirect object. Okay, so let's talk about direct object and indirect object. The direct object in the sentence is the noun or pronoun that receives the action of the verb. The indirect object is the noun or pronoun that receives the direct object. So let's take a look at a couple of examples and see if we can make some sense of this. So let's take the example, his mom baked cookies for the team. Okay? So, okay, here we go. Pardon my messy writing. Okay, with these sentences, the best thing for you to do is first pick out what the verb is, okay? Because everything really hinges on identifying the verb first, because it's really only after you do that that you can identify the direct object. So, baked in this sentence is going to be our verb. That's our action word in this sentence, okay? Now we have to ask ourselves, what noun or pronoun in this sentence is receiving that action? What is the thing in this sentence, what is the word, noun, in this sentence that is being baked? Answer, cookies. So we can go ahead and label cookies as our direct object. Okay, now we need to identify our indirect object. So in order to do that, we have to ask ourselves, okay, what noun in the sentence is receiving the direct object? So what noun in this sentence is receiving the cookies? And the answer is team. Team is receiving the cookies. Because my mom baked cookies for the team. So the team is the group of fortunate people that's receiving these great cookies. Now what happens a lot of times, it gets tricky identifying indirect object sometimes because of the way the sentence is presented. In this sentence, it's pretty clear. It's somewhat easy to pick out the direct and indirect object. But a lot of times where people get confused is when things are switched around a little bit, like this. If I change this sentence to his mom baked the team cookies. So, people say things different ways, right? I know, you notice that yourself when you're talking to people. Sometimes you might say it this way, sometimes you might say it this way. So when we say it this way, his mom baked the team cookies, a lot of times, people are tempted to, pick team as the direct object because it's following the verb. And just it's important to understand that it's not always going to be the case. So it's important to sort of take that second and ask yourself, what is the noun that's receiving the action? Again, our action word here, our verb, is still baked, okay? And cookies is still going to be our direct object, and team is still going to be our indirect object, okay? Because cookies is still a thing that's receiving that action. So just know that, pay careful attention, because sometimes, you'll see sentences presented in different ways. So it's really important that you break it down like this. So let's look at another example. Let's take another sentence, and I will present it in both ways again, just to emphasize the fact that the direct object and the indirect object is not going to change in spite of the fact that I'm rephrasing the sentence. So let's take the example, I threw the ball to Sally. Okay? So first let's identify what our verb is, because that makes everything else a little bit easier to identify. So our verb, our action word here, is going to be threw. And from there, let's pick out the direct object. What noun in this sentence is receiving that action? What in this sentence is being thrown? The answer is the ball. It's the ball that's being thrown. So that's going to be our direct object. Then we ask ourselves, who or what in this sentence is receiving that direct object? Who is receiving the ball? And it's Sally. So Sally is going to be our indirect object there. Now if I switch this sentence around and I say, I threw Sally the ball. Okay? Understand that Sally is still going to be our indirect object. Ball is still going to be our direct object. Very important to understand that concept, because sentences will be presented to you in different ways. So just really make a note of that, because I think that's the thing that really trips people up. They may be able to pick out the direct or the indirect object when the sentence is phrased like this, but when it's phrased like this, people make the mistake of labeling whatever is after the verb as the direct object. So just be careful there, don't get tripped up with that one. So again, just a quick review. Direct object is our noun or pronoun that receives the action of the verb. Indirect object is our noun or pronoun that receives the direct object. All right, I hope that clarified things a little bit for you. And for some more practice with these, there are a couple of worksheets on the website, and I'm sure there's, again, endless exercises being given to you from your teachers, which I'm sure you'll appreciate. And next we're going to talk about predicate nominative and predicate adjective. Okay, now we're going to talk about predicate nominative and predicate adjective. And before we really can get an understanding of those two things, we first need to understand what a linking verb is. A linking verb describes a state of being or condition of the subject versus verbs that we've been dealing with that's their action. Linking verb describes state of being or condition. Think of is, were, are, appears, seems, words like that. Okay, those are your linking verbs, okay? Predicate nominative is a noun that follows a linking verb and renames the subject. Okay, so let's look at an example. Ed is a musician. First thing we're going to do is pick out our linking verb. In this case, right here, is. And our subject here is Ed. So musician is going to be our predicate nominative, okay, because it's our noun that follows a linking verb and renames the subject. Musician renames Ed. Ed is a musician, okay? Let's do another example. Okay. I say, he is the winner of the contest. He is the winner of the contest. Okay, let's get rid of this right now. He is the winner of the contest. Okay. Apologize for the sloppy writing again. Okay. Again, we're going to identify that linking verb first. Is linking verb. Subject is he. All right. Now we're looking for a noun that follows a linking verb and renames our subject. So in this case, it's going to be winner. Winner is going to be our predicate nominative because it renames he. He is the winner, okay? Winner renames he, all right? So again, predicate nominative, noun that follows a linking verb and renames the subject. All right, now we're going to talk about predicate adjective. So let's get rid of this. Hope you guys are sticking with me here. You're not falling asleep on me. All right. Okay. Predicate adjective, as you may have guessed, is an adjective that follows a linking verb and refers to the subject. Okay, so let's come up with an example. Okay. Let's see. It's sailing is fun. Okay. First thing we're going to do, identify our linking verb right here. Our subject here is going to be sailing. And fun is going to be our predicate adjective because it's an adjective, follows a linking verb, and is referring to our subject sailing. Sailing is fun, okay? All right, one more example here. Since we're already talking about water, let's use that. The water seems deep to me. I've looked at it, seems kind of deep. I don't know, you're telling me sailing is fun, but I'm a little leery. All right. Okay, first we're going to identify the linking verb. Now in the previous examples, we've just been dealing with is. So that's why I stuck this guy in here. Because this will probably show up too for you. Seems, because again, the linking verb describes a state of being or condition. So seems is going to be our linking verb here. Our subject is going to be water. And our predicate adjective is going to be deep. Because deep is an adjective, follows our linking verb here, and refers back to the subject water. Deep is describing water, okay? So, best thing to do in terms of, or that you really need to remember in terms of distinguishing between predicate nominative versus predicate adjective is just remember that your predicate nominative is a noun that follows your linking verb and it renames the subject, whereas predicate adjective is an adjective that follows a linking verb and refers back to the subject. All right, so remember that, you should be good to go.